Boston Chinatown, the home of over 4,000 immigrants and working-class people, is now the only district of Boston that does not have a public library. Ever since the Taylor Street Library was torn down in 1956, Boston Chinatown residents have struggled to not only build a library, but also a community center where its residents can gather.
We had a bookmobile service after the branch library was essentially the building was demolished. That just was not adequate because it was a van that came in. It was like being in a truck, and you went in and you had some books that you could choose from, but you checked out your books, and then that was it until a week or so later that you would go back and refreshen your library. But it doesn't make up for the sense of having a space where you could sit down and read, or have a story hour where librarians would read stories to you. It was a community a library's community gathering space.
In October 2009, almost half a century after the closing of Chinatown Branch Library, Boston Street Lab, a nonprofit organization, started a 3-month project called Storefront Library. The purpose is to demonstrate the potential impact of a library in the neighborhood, and it was a huge success.
When they had the Storefront Library, it was right in Washington Street, so they attracted all kinds of people. Kids to come and use the computer, elderly people coming in, and so on.
After the Storefront Library, there were a few library and reading room projects launched in Chinatown, but they all closed due to lack of support and funds.
The library system has to have enough money to build and maintain. Right? It's not just how many $1 million to build a library, but how much money per year, which is not small.
Chinatown residents and activist groups have been working together for a decade for a branch library. In a recent town hall meeting, city officials promised to build a new library for Chinatown.
So we've been talking about having a library in Chinatown. We've been talking about it over a decade. When are we actually going to be able to get a library in Chinatown? I mean, it seems like a simple question, but something we've been fighting for a long time.
I am committed to finding a space for a library in Chinatown. We, city, thought we had a great deal at the China Trade Building with a tenant going in there who would build you out space in the building for a library. They ultimately didn't want to do the deal with the city for the whole building, so that fell apart. So we're back at square one, but I want to commit that this administration will give you a library in Chinatown.
I think it recognizes that each neighborhood has its own unique traits and characteristics, and that's why they are very intentional, making sure that they capture as many diverse voices and recognizing what makes each neighborhood unique. So I think that's a great idea, but I really also hope that there will be some follow-up and that there is this commitment to make sure that that the outcomes are organically coming from the voices of residents, and it's not like just done halfway there, but really fully committing to it and making sure that there are outcomes.
Although many Chinatown residents seem suspicious of city's promise, as long as residents, activists, and city planners are working together towards the same direction, a new Chinatown branch library is in the near future.